Hello lovely people.
Hello.
We're Jessie and Claude and we are parents of 3 children.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, a 4.5-year-old and 2 6-month-olds.
I like how you say it to me and I like act as if it's like news to me.
They are, by the way, our joint children. This isn't new to her.
No, and they grew in my.
Are you going to say stomach?
I was going to say in my stomach and I'm like, that's
she has
not
an anatomy degree.
They grew in my womb, in my uterus.
They grew down there.
As you can tell, I've still got baby brain, which lasts for 2 years, and then we had more, and now we've got twins. So you think you get double the length of baby brain with twins?
They've got a 4-year age gap, honey.
That's worrying. That I had baby brain for 4 years. Anyway, we're so thankful for our 3 children.
We really, really are. So today we are going to be reacting to some 1950s parenting advice, because it's true, there are some things about the past that were better for parents and for children. They could just roam free outside.
No screens.
Yes, that one's a really big one. Fewer toys and less pressure to get them the right toy.
And probably
like the most educational thing ever.
Better quality made toys.
Yeah, I mean, that's debatable.
Really?
It's a lot of lead paint. But some things about the past and parenting weren't that great.
Like smacking your children. Probably not a good thing.
No.
I don't know if that was just like a standard accepted thing in the 50s to be mean to them.
My mother loves to tell me how her parents were raised by Victorians and therefore everything that the generation below does is
her parents were not raised by Victorians.
Yes, so my mother was raised by people who were raised by Victorians.
Yeah. Your grandparents were raised by Victorians. Very end of era Victorians.
The Intelligent Parents Manual was originally published in 1944 and then published by Penguin Books in 1953. It was a well-respected and quite recommended guide for new parents, the good ones, who know not to spare a child's feelings. Do they have feelings? Spanking. Not only excusable, but beneficial. This is because all parents at one time or another have been at their wits' end to know how to control their child's behaviour. There are certain rare occasions when a spanking or a well-administered slap on the hand is not only excusable, but beneficial.
This happened because they'd be at their wits' end. Like, that doesn't happen anymore.
I know.
We don't resort to spanking.
Yes, we do get to our wits' end.
The explanation for why they did it was they got to their wits' end.
Before they tried nothing else.
I was spanked as a child.
Yeah.
And I was not born in the 50s.
I know, I mean, we were born in the 90s. What terrible parenting things are we going to
I was born in the 80s. You were born in the 80s. What are you talking about?
Oh, by a few months. Oh my goodness. You were actually born in the 80s.
I was.
Yeah, I don't think spanking has I don't think there's a justification. Also, the one I find strange is when they would spank a child for hitting another child. You're trying to teach the child not to hit by hitting?
I definitely knew that my parents had had enough if I got like spanked. It was like mainly like a slap on the hand.
Yeah.
I had like, I think 2 times in my life where I got spanked on the bum.
But how would you feel inside?
I remember I just didn't feel good. And I was like...
At least we can't be spanked in school anymore.
Yeah. I think my dad said he'd get the cane still when he's at school.
Why did we think that was okay?
I would hate sending my child to school knowing that they may be, that kind of like discipline was permissible. That's like, now it's like, do not touch my child.
My child's fallen over, they're in a hole. If you could just lift them out the hole.
When we have to sign a thing at the beginning of when they start school, or even every term, saying like, I allow you to give medicine to my child when they're ill. I mean, fair enough, that's like something.
I allow you to help them when they've got their coat stuck over their head. Like,
do you allow me to put a plaster on them when they've had a cut?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
Can I hug them if they cry? Yeah.
Luckily, our school did not say that. That's extreme. It's taking consent a bit too far.
Don't give your baby too many cuddles. Too many caresses, too much emotion lavished may accustom a child to so much pleasure in being touched and handled that all future relationships may seem cold and unsatisfactory by comparison. A mother who overindulges her child in this way is usually a woman whose emotional life is unsatisfactory.
I mean, I'm not going to argue too much against this one.
What?
I do agree that there is too much cuddling. When he's like too much, like with a baby. Now this could be controversial.
Yes, this is our controversial.
This is my controversial opinion. I don't 100% agree with like attachment parenting style, where it's like literally you just baby wear all the time. They're just like stuck to you all the time. But I definitely do disagree with the
I think it's
emotionally
a terrible
as a
idea
person.
to be like,
I think it just
because then they'll realise how great it is to have human touch, and then they'll expect to be treated like a human.
If it was like should a baby not be touched at all and like basically like left in a cot and its cries ignored and it's not picked up when it's crying? Once it's given its bottle, it's just put down and ignored. Or should it be like, you know, cuddled to sleep,
constantly attached
and like fed on demand? I'd probably go with like the actual like give them the fed demand. Why are you doing that? Cuddle to sleep.
I was really worried about where you were going there.
If it was like neglect or like smothering, I'd probably go with smothering is better.
This is the 1950s idea of cuddles.
I do disagree with that comment because I think cuddles are lovely. But when it says too many caresses or too many like emotions lavish, like I just feel like if they're just trying to do their thing, like they're just trying to like play with their toy and there's someone constantly stroking them.
I mean, I think also the way that we work as a family, as parents, and for our specific children, we know how they work. They need their floor time. Like, they need time to play on the floor, to be rolling around, to be doing things independently by themselves, to be playing. And then when we have people come over to visit and they want to get down and like really touch the baby.
People like take their rattles and like rattle it in front of their face. And
it's just like, what are you doing to me?
Yeah, I think I feel strongly about it because I personally don't want to be caressed and touched constantly. I'm like, get off me.
Very neurodivergent family, clearly. Obviously, yes, case by case basis, some babies desperately need to be held all of the time, but I don't think you can spoil a baby.
No, I don't think you can spoil a baby, no.
Do not breastfeed for too long. It is particularly important for a woman to control herself, keep from worrying, and try to achieve a real serenity of spirit during those nursing months. If she cannot succeed in this, it is better for her to stop nursing entirely, even if a mother has a plentiful supply of milk. It's often wise for her to give her baby one supplementary bottle a day after he is 1 or 2 months old. This accustoms him both to the bottle and to cow's milk, yes. Keeping a baby at the breast after he's over 9 months old, and most a year, is bad for him because it keeps him in an emotionally infantile state, likely to make him dependent on his mother.
1 or 2 months, that's like really short.
That's
I think.
Ridiculous.
I think breastfeeding, like
I think setting a limit on yourself that is externally imposed is ridiculous.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think whatever works for you as a parenting duo is the best thing. Mm-hmm. So if it's working for the parent but not the baby, then it's not working. If it's working for the baby but not the parent, it's not working. It needs to work for both of you.
Yeah, it's interesting that was what was the social norm. Is that still the social norm in America? Like people don't have as much like such a long maternity leave, that breastfeeding is much shorter there than, for instance, in the UK, where we do have up to like 12 months maternity, and therefore we have the luxury of choosing to breastfeed for longer if we want to. But then I also read in France they have a short breastfeeding time because it socially was like less accepted to breastfeed for longer than 6 months. They tend to do it for like 6 months. I think it is like a cultural thing. I mean, I breastfed Rupert for 15 months, but that was not my intention.
No.
It worked for him and it didn't really work for me.
You say it worked for him. He was really happy, I think, to not continue
By 6 months, we had got him onto mixed feeding with bottles and formula and also breastfeeding. But then he had like a dairy allergy, and then the GP was like, just put him back on your breast. So I was like, okay. So I did, even though I was like, I am not 100% loving breastfeeding, but it's all right, you know.
Unfortunately, Rupert was really into food, so he ate a lot and got a lot of calories from food, and then he just kind of had a evening and nap time.
He was only breastfeeding like twice a day, like before the nap and like at night time. I just told him when he was 15 months, like, no more mummy milk now, and he was like, oh, okay.
A child between 1 and 2 should have its own room, which contains its cot, a small table and a chair. A room which also has safety bars at the windows, contains a minimum number of breakables, and has a floor and walls that are easily cleaned. The wise mother always tries to keep breakables out of reach and attempts to forestall accidents rather than scold the child after they've occurred. Is this
that
bad advice? This seems like good advice.
Is that your response from that?
Yeah. Not the bars. The bars at the windows a bit much.
That description of that room sounded like it was kind of some kind of like cell in like some kind of like hospital. It was like wipeable walls, one table, one bowl, bars on the window.
I was responding to the, like
minimalist
forestall accidents.
I know,
rather than allow them to happen and then
remove all
tell your child off. Guess which one of us was more into like Montessori
bedroom.
Yeah, which we did for Rupert. He slept on the floor and he could not crawl. So he just like rolled off and then he would like sliver to his bedroom door, and then we just couldn't get in the room because he'd fall asleep by the bedroom door. We did have a monitor though that could like turn, so then we were watching
We knew he was fine.
He now doesn't like to sleep under a duvet or on a very soft bed. So he prefers to sleep on the floor with no duvet.
When he feels stressed about something, like we're going on holiday the next day, or just there's a big event like Christmas coming up, he wants to sleep on the floor for comfort. On the floor, like on the carpet directly.
Whereas with the girls, we're not going to do the floor mattresses.
No.
It was mainly just because...
There are two of them now, so they can just climb on top of each other.
Yeah, they are also like good at moving, and we thought the whole point of the floor beds is like being able to have a bit of autonomy, getting in and out.
The independence.
So we're going to put them in like, we've got like those cots which like have the opening so they can kind of get in and out themselves.
And they move more than their brother. Unless he could slither underneath a chest of drawers.
Oh my gosh, one time I woke up to the sound of him like crying. I went down and I was like, where is he? He was like, I just could not see him. Like, he was not on his floor bed. He was not by the door. He was not like, I was like, there's nowhere he could like, but I can hear him crying. He somehow managed to like slither under the like nursing chair, which is like an armchair, but then stand up behind it.
Again, this child could not stand.
Well, but I guess he'd like chimney sweep
Could
his way
not
up.
stand. Could not crawl. But somehow, this one time...
And he was in a sleep bag as well. He was just like, and I was like, oh my goodness.
We laugh because we've learnt our lesson.
Yeah, so now we're like, no, okay.
Just never mind.
Traditional cot beds.
Adult approval is most important to a young child. He is happy when his mother is pleased and praises him. He also wants to avoid displeasing her because they may be afraid of losing her love and help. Parents may prevent this kind of anxiety in their child by neither making the standards of behaviour too high nor expressing a shocked disapproval.
Oh, I think that's like a good one. I think that one still applies today. Your child shouldn't feel like, oh no, my mother's gonna not love me. I think that is actually, to be fair, an innate thing a child has. That's why they feel like such remorse when they get told off, like, oh no, I've displeased my mother. They'll feel more balanced if they're shown unconditional love.
I have a real thing with Rupert, and with the girls, but they are babies, with verbally expressing that my love for him is unconditional. So saying very much outrightly saying like, I love you forever, it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter if you did this or this or this or that. Even if I was the most disappointed in you I could possibly be, I would still love you forever.
Well, and also like in that last bit, like we try not to like react really big either way. If it's like something we're really happy and proud of, we like, oh my god, you were so amazing, well done. We do that, but we don't like over egg it.
No, and we tend to do the more like, you must feel great.
Yeah, so that he feels good about himself rather than trying to do it again to please us.
We probably sometimes seem like terrible parents to other parents.
And then if he's done something that's like considered as a sort of misbehaviour, we try, I mean it's not always, we're not like saints of parents, we get it wrong as well sometimes, but we do try and like give a like sort of calm response about like how that was not good, this is how we can do better, and try and model rather than react.
Else we realise that you're probably right now unable to control yourself due to being incredibly exhausted.
Or hungry.
And really hungry. But still, we can't do that.
Yeah, we shouldn't draw on the wall.
Just express that we need some food.
Permanent pen.
It's a good thing we've got
he did actually draw on the wall with a permanent pen, and then he went and got a decal sticker from his bedroom and stuck it on top. Which shows that he was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
But also he did the tiniest line.
And I said, I think in somewhere in this lesson I must have said about pencil, because he has drawn on the wall since, but with pencil. And then when I caught him with it, he went, but we can rub it out. And I was like, it is true, but that's not the lesson I was trying to give.
My parents got so angry with me when my brother was born because I went behind the sofa. The sofa was against a wall with a pencil, and I drew on the back of the sofa in pencil because that was the naughtiest I could allow myself to be. They're like, yeah, but you can't rub it out. It's on a sofa.
A regular evening routine with no undue excitement before bedtime is essential. If a child under 4 begins to climb out of his cot after he has been left there for the night, it may be necessary for a short time to use the device of a net, as is recommended for younger children.
A net?
Yeah.
On top of the cots? Oh my goodness, I never knew such a thing existed.
It doesn't seem very safe. What if there's a fire? Surely the net would...
Yeah, no, it's still unsafe for a fire because like you wouldn't be able to rush in and grab your child
you'd have
out.
to stand there and like
you'd have to undo the net.
net.
Yeah, in the dark or
Not just for fire safety issues. That seems like a real not great idea.
No, I just keep getting this image of like a child trying to like get out and their head's just like covered in netting.
Also, a child under 4, that's like, you could have a reasonable conversation with a 3-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, Rupert was just in a single bed. I think he didn't even have his bed guard up anymore by the time he was 3.
He was in a single bed from
2.
after his 2nd birthday.
Yeah.
That would be so odd to net him in. And then you go in the room and he'd be there like, good morning, mothers.
Also, like,
how was your night? Did you have good dreams?
Also, the thing said, if you've left them all night and now they're trying to get out, it's like, well, I mean, at some point you are going to have to engage with your child. I know it's delightful that sometimes that they're like in their bedroom, you know, tucked away, quiet and asleep, but they do need to wake up and actually exist.
I do think a regular bedtime routine with no undue excitement. Our child does like to be...
I was going to say, it doesn't work for every child. Our child needs like a little bit of like excitable activity in order to like basically calm down.
We call it playing silly billies because it's the only time you're allowed to use the word silly.
He also has to go to and from the toilet as some kind of animal.
Yeah, but it has to be a different animal on the way there to on the way back.
It can be exhausting.
You've got to think up a new one.
But when he was younger, I think it was calmer.
Was it? No, because then we had the book. We had a phonics book, and he had to go through the phonics book every night as we got him ready for bed.
And then we did puzzles.
He had to do a puzzle.
I mean, I think this is a bit unique to our like child, who we suspect is, you know, neurodivergent, as are we. I mean, I think 1950s, it probably also is fair to say, they probably didn't even really believe in neurodiversity, but they thought, you know, it only fit people who were like extremely hyperactive and then couldn't sit still.
Or needed to be institutionalised.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And we tried to follow the whole routines of like having a bath before bed, but it is very exciting to have a bath right before bed.
That's what we learnt with him, is like that bath was actually exciting and not calming. It might also be to do with the fact that like we can't have low lights in the bathroom. Like, who has low lights in their bathroom unless you've actually lit some candles? And then having candles whilst doing a bath for a baby / toddler is not really the wisest thing.
You really need to be able to see them.
Yeah. So then it's like this brightly lit thing with echoey room, with sensory overload, with the noise and the splashing. I just don't think it's calming. I don't find baths calming. I get in them and I'm like, oh, it's going to be really nice and relaxing. And I get in it and then I get really bored. Like within 5 minutes, I'm like, right, that's me washed.
At just 10 days old, a baby should begin having strained vegetables, and by 9 weeks old, the little one should be eating bacon and eggs, just like Dad. Babies should have black coffee starting at 6 months to get them used to the normal eating habits of the families. Some babies take a violent dislike to cod liver oil. If this persists, it is better to change to one of the concentrates, which supply the same vitamins but in far pleasanter form. Orange juice should be given in a bottle and well diluted with water until the baby has learnt to enjoy its flavour. If necessary, cereal and vegetables may at first be diluted with milk.
This is very American.
Yes, that's true, actually.
Yeah. In England,
Black
it would be
coffee. Tea, absolutely, yes. We give them tea.
Yeah.
Starting at a week
And
old.
it wouldn't be eggs and bacon in the 50s, it would just be... It would probably be like...
still on rationing.
It would be lard on toast, dripping. Toast and dripping,
oh,
yeah.
No.
My dad used to say, I used to love dripping on toast. It's like, that's because it was all you kind of got, so you kind of had to.
Oh, my dad got given the 1 egg a week.
Yeah, that's called sexism. Because he had 3 sisters.
Okay, well, we're no longer in rationing times, currently. We don't give our babies food now at 10 days old. Is that strained vegetables?
Why? So random. I guess they thought it was going to help with like the gut flora or something.
So I suppose it's also to make them like enjoy the taste.
But 10 days old,
I
they still got the like sucking reflex. They haven't got any mannerism of their mouth.
What do you even do? Like, how are you making
How do they give it to
I guess
them?
you put it in a bottle.
Ugh.
And also boil some vegetables, but you shouldn't give them water.
Strained, no, because I guess it's boiled water that's had like some broccoli and stuff in it, just boiling along. It just makes me think of like, you know, when you strain your vegetables after you've like cooked them, it just makes me think you just then
with the green water.
Yeah, the green water. That's basically
you just give that to the baby.
Yeah,
but they shouldn't have water.
That's a new.
What's happening to their kidneys?
They did not think that at the time.
Yes, that's true, because even my mother's generation say, "Are you not giving the baby water?"
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, it's hot day, you should give them some water."
No, I do not give the tiny babies some water. The kidneys have not developed.
Coffee, black coffee. I wouldn't even give black coffee. I mean,
would you give black coffee to Rupert?
I don't think he'd like it at all.
No.
It's a very strong taste.
I hate coffee. I really hate coffee. I hate the smell of coffee. I hate coffee flavoured things. I hate coffee flavoured cake. Cake is such a nice thing. Why would you ruin it by giving it a coffee flavour?
Yeah, it's
ridiculous.
A bit strange.
Ice cream.
Okay.
Ice cream, so good. The only good thing about coffee is caffeine.
That is the thing though, like so many people drink coffee And yet it is a strong and unique taste. Surely that many people can't enjoy it that much. It's like a learnt thing. Like the same with alcohol.
Ugh.
Alcohol doesn't really taste very nice.
It smells foul.
Yeah, I think it's a learnt thing.
Just drink some sparkling water.
I think people like the effect it has, as they like the effect of caffeine.
Did you know every coffee bean has its own unique amount of caffeine in it?
Yeah, that's why there's that mouse thing. Not mouse, I don't know what kind of animal it is. They look a bit like a ferret, but they can sniff out the best smelling coffee bean.
Okay.
And that's why it's like this really expensive coffee variety, isn't it?
We are starting to wean our babies.
They very much enjoy their food.
They really love their food.
Like it's
One
like
more than the other.
give like 1 to 2 spoons, and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
How dare you give me 2 spoons?
They've already mastered the spoon to mouth thing.
Yeah, it's going quite well. But no coffee is on the menu.
No. Or strained vegetable water.
Please stop talking about that. So I think we've learnt many things today about the advice that comes from the 1950s parenting.
I mean, I think there was like maybe 1 or 2 that was still okay. The rest were probably no.
Yeah.
Good thing we've come along like, 70 years.
Yeah, you know what I think is great is that now there's more variation in sort of choice and ways of parenting. Whereas when we look back at history, the same with fashion, it tends to be like, this is what everyone wore in the 1920s. This is what everyone did with their children in the 1930s. Now there's much more of a recognition that what works for individual families doesn't necessarily work for other families.
But that's an interesting point, because I would argue a little bit that is documentation just easier now, like from different people. So like everyone has access to what, despite your socioeconomic background or culture or language, to documents either through like photos or writing, like how they live and how they do things and what their opinion is on it and how their family have always done it. Whereas before, it probably would have been a bit more of an elite group of people.
That's obviously a really good point. I think that the class divide that we used to have, which is much wider, so we can look back and be like, oh, well, people of this social class wore this, people of this social class wore this. Nowadays, we are more fragmented within that. But also, back in the day, rich people didn't do any parenting.
No.
At all. My grandfather saw his parents for 5 minutes a day when the nanny took them to say goodnight, and he got a pat on the head.
And I think there's more expectation of like equal parenting, despite gender or sex, like... Hi! Should we finish the video like this so we're hiding? Our son just came in. I don't know if you saw his blank face, but we're going to continue the video like this. So hide us.
Yes, we're just hiding him. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to see more from us, then you can follow us on Instagram at Jessie and Claude, where we share more about our life with 3 children, 2 mothers, a dog. I'm very excited to be coming up. For those of you who don't know, we will indeed be making our annual trip to Malaysia this year. I say annual, we didn't go last year, but still, we're going to Malaysia this year. Yes! We're going to go and take the girls, and they're going to go and meet their Malaysian family. So make sure you subscribe here on YouTube and following us over on Instagram to see our family adventures. If you'd like to see more videos featuring Claudia and I, then you can click the playlist right up here. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.